All right, I gotta say, before we start this, I learned so much about you before. I mean, I've only known you for a short amount of time, but Charles Nelson.
Hmm.
I did not realize some things about you because if people are watching the video, they will see that you have listed your name, which I thought because you have a quirky sense of humor, just like myself,
Uh-huh.
I thought you were just playing with me when you
Mhm.
put Dr. Pastor Charles Nelson. What is this about? What is this? Is this a joke or is this a real thing?
No, it's real. I'm a doctor of divinity and a pastor through the Universal Life Church. I've been the officiant of probably upwards of 30 weddings or more, I'd say.
Really?
I don't do circumcisions, bar mitzvahs, or brisses or anything like that, but I will officiate your wedding. I will, you know, bless your food as long as I get some.
Okay.
And I'm also a Lord. I didn't put Lord Dr. Pastor Charles Nelson because that sounded a little too super villainy for me. Little Doctor Doomish.
Sure, sure.
But I am, as I was showing you, I have the credentials. I get
Okay.
there I have a parking placard as well, like a minister's parking pass. I haven't used it, but I maybe one of these days. And there's my Lord. I own a plot. I don't know what it is. It's
Okay.
like a 10-foot by 10-foot plot of land in Scotland.
Really?
It's a little bench. It's part of this. It's called the Scottish Gift, and it's for land preservation, so people don't build complexes or
Sure.
buildings or whatever on there. And so so I have this little bench, Charles Nelson's bench, Lord Charles Nelson's bench.
Have you gone to visit this bench before, or did you just something you
No,
did
I
online?
I did it. I probably did it like right before the pandemic started,
Mm.
and so I haven't got to go yet. So I'm hoping next year I'll get to go and see this, and maybe they'll let me put a flag up or something. I don't know. Maybe I could sleep on the bench. Maybe they'll let me take a nap.
Honestly, if you had 10 by 10, you can put a tent right there, and you
That's
can
true.
take a family camping trip in
I could,
Scotland. That would be
I
fun.
could, or I could put up a little beer tent and just sell, or I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's in Scotland. I could,
Yeah,
have some whiskey and it'll be fine. Some
absolutely.
scotch.
That would be
I'm,
fun.
I'm,
I would go on that trip for sure if
mhm,
I was invited. That would be fantastic.
yeah. Well, just look for the invite. Probably never come, but you can still look for it.
It'll probably be in the mail or something like that. Or I mean, we
Right.
live in the same town and we're doing this through a video call. But Charles, I've known you for a little bit now, and we've worked together with some fun things with Ryan Cheevers, who's been on previous episode here. And I got to say, you were a little upset that Ryan was on the podcast before you were. Is that correct?
Well, first of all, I've never even heard of Ryan Cheevers. I don't know who he is, but the fact that I would be even, you know, stake any sort of emotion upon a guy with that name in the first place is,
Sure, sure.
yeah, yeah. No, but Ryan's great. I love working with Ryan. He's one of my favorite people to work with, and his collaborations are always great. I
Yeah.
love it, and so, but yeah.
Yeah,
He's more easily available than I am, if we're just going to be honest. You know what I mean? So yeah, you can
right.
just
Yeah.
call up Ryan and he can.
And that's what I told Ryan is when I asked Ryan to be on the podcast. At first, we talked about a combo
Mhm.
with you and him and me talking about stuff, and that may happen in the future at your place. And we'll talk about that in just a minute.
All right.
But I thought, okay, well, I've got to build up an audience here for a
Sure.
little bit with this podcast before I asked the Dr. Pastor Lord Charles Nelson to be on the podcast.
And I appreciate that. It's not. I don't do small potatoes, right?
Right.
It's got to be a big deal. So
Well,
thank you, and I appreciate
I'm
it.
glad that I was able to talk to your people and make this all happen. But Charles, I want to, just like the show's called, I want to start from the beginning and get to know you a little bit more. And now you live in the same town as I, in Niles.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a company that we'll talk about in just a little bit. And you do some great work within the community. And so, but I want to start from the beginning. Where did you grow up here in Niles?
Yeah. Yep. born in Cheyenne, Wyoming, but grew up in Niles, and Niles High School, Niles schools, all the way through. Met my wife here. She was the manager of the Ready Theater when it used to be up on the
Mhm.
hill on Main Street here. So I met Jess there when she was the manager, and I would go in all the time. And so then moved out to Maryland. That's where I went to school out in Maryland, and then we had our first son, and we decided to move back because we're small town people and we love Niles.
That's awesome. And so, what brought you from Wyoming to here?
Well, I was like 6 months
You
old
were a
when we
kid?
moved
Okay.
back. Yeah, yeah. And so my mom and my dad's from Galeen, my mom's from Buchanan. They had family in Cheyenne, and they moved out there, and they lived out there for several years. My older brother, I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, and he actually lives. I can see his apartment from my studio downtown here.
Oh,
Um, but and I have an older brother who lives in San Francisco now. He's 2.5 years older than me, but so he was born out there, and my twin brother and I were born out there. And then about 6 months after we were born, my dad came home from work, said, I quit my job. We're moving back to Michigan. And that's how we wound up back here.
wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so you obviously enjoyed growing up here because, like you said, you moved away. Where in Maryland did you live? Because I lived in Maryland.
Oh, really? So I lived outside of Baltimore, Owings Mills, Maryland. Most people might know it. That's where the Baltimore Ravens training facility
Yep.
was. I don't know if it's still there, but I went to a small private college. At the time, it was called Villa Julie College because it was founded by some nuns during World War II. And the main campus was located in Stevenson, Maryland, which is about 10, 15 minutes outside of Owings Mills. And then the year I graduated, actually, they changed it to Stevenson University. So now it's known as Stevenson University. I ran cross country there my first year, but then my son was born my senior year in college, and so I didn't run anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Salisbury on the other side
Oh,
of
yeah.
the Delmarva Peninsula.
Yeah, Delmarva, home of the, let me think about it. The Delmarva, what's the minor league baseball team there? The Delmarva something birds, I want to say. I can't remember.
Close. Shorebirds.
Shorebirds, yes. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And I honestly did not know that little peninsula between the ocean and the Chesapeake Bay, that little strip that has that's called the Delmarva Peninsula. I did not know that until I moved there.
Right.
And they were like, no, yeah, I was like, Delmarva, like Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. And they were like, yeah, if you look on the map, it's all connected in the peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it blew my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because it's not a huge like piece of, I mean, like even the bay there and the peninsula itself, it's not big, but the fact that it shares, and it's what's so funny about I'm a big history guy, and so you look at the East Coast with those like Maryland, Delaware, even up to New Hampshire and Maine and everything, they're all so tiny. And then the further you get west, it's just like they got lazy. I'll screw it. We'll just we're just gonna make these big squares. And now this is how it's gonna be. But yeah, it's I love living out in Maryland. My experience of the East Coast was everybody was always in a hurry. And so I was in a hurry to get back to the Midwest because I try to live an intentional life where I don't have to rush. And so that's why we moved back. And you can't beat free babysitting when both of our parents live within 10 minutes of us. So
yeah, that's helpful too. Absolutely. Yep. So what was it like growing up in Niles and in like high school? What was young Charles like before he became
alcoholic? No. Young Charles was I ran cross country, I ran track, and I wrestled. I loved cross country was my favorite. I just love, whether it's walking or running, I just love being out and being by myself, and just headphones off and just kind of experiencing all the signs, the sights and the sounds, easy for me to say, of wherever I am. And so I was on the varsity cross country team and the varsity track team and the varsity wrestling team. Actually, this may surprise a lot of people who know me, who didn't know me before, but I 11 varsity letters in my high school career. So I was only one away from a perfect 12, 3 all year. I did not letter my freshman year in track, but other than that, I got 11 varsity letters. But I loved, and all of my cross country friends, I'm still friends with them today. Those are like my closest friends that I had in high school, and I still talk to them a lot. Same with the wrestling friends. There's quite a few guys from the wrestling team that I still keep in contact with, and yeah. So it was high school. I really enjoyed my time at Niles. I think because of the sports I was in, and I was distracted with that. I
Right.
think I wasn't a part of like any other clubs or anything. I was just a cross country wrestling and track guy. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and so I want to ask you this because I have a personal opinion about it, and I feel like you might have the same opinion. What are your thoughts on varsity jackets?
I don't know. Like I had one, and I loved. So I had my chevrons all down it, right? My 11 chevrons. I had my medals clinking.
Oh, you were the metal clinking guy?
I was the metal clinking guy. You know it, absolutely, man. that thing got heavy.
That was my biggest. I mean, because I knew any school I ever went to. I had many varsity letters and things like that in school.
Mhm.
But when my mom asked me about a varsity jacket, I said, I'm good. I don't.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to wear that past
yeah.
graduation. And I was
Sure.
like, don't. It's not worth the money. Even like the class ring, I toyed
Right.
with the idea of, do I need it? I still have it somewhere.
Right.
Doesn't fit anymore, and it's like, well, who needs that? Why spend the money? Just give me the cash instead.
That's a good point.
Instead of
Very
that.
good point. Yeah, because
But-
those varsity jackets are expensive.
Yeah, they can be expensive. I mean, it's cool to see and show off and see all that stuff, and you see somebody. But I knew you were either in wrestling or cross country
'Cause of the medals.
or track of some kind because of the metal clinks and
Yep.
all the extra patches of the
Yeah.
state qualifier or any of those
Right.
things. And even if you just showed up to a tournament, it seemed like they gave you a medal or
And it's funny you bring that up because I wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. I was good enough, and so that's it is funny because there was a couple wrestling tournaments. I got first place, second place, whatever.
Sure.
And there was some I got like sixth place, and they gave me a medal. And it's like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, you get to the end of the tournament and
Yeah.
you see somebody getting the bracket and
Yeah,
medal
exactly.
and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they call your name and you're like, what?
Right. I mean, I wrestled 3 times. I wrestled just
Yeah.
as much as that guy did, but whatever. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned that the sports you played, and you have a company now called On Base Productions,
Mhm.
but I never heard you say you played baseball.
I'm a wiffle ball guy.
Wiffle.
No, I love playing wiffle ball. We played wiffle ball my entire life growing up. That was in our backyard. That's my one baseball claim to fame, or wiffle ball claim to fame, was we were in our backyard on Hickory Street in Niles, and I hit a home run over the fence of our backyard, and I don't know, I was like 8 or 10 or something,
Mhm.
and a guy was driving by with the top down on his Jeep, and it landed in his Jeep, and all of a sudden he backs up and he throws it back, and he's like, "Nice job, man!" And I was like, the coolest thing I ever did, hit a home run into somebody's car. But I'm a huge baseball fan. I love watching baseball. I grew up not thinking that I could play. I didn't have I didn't have like somebody actively wanting to play baseball with me, right? I didn't have
Mhm.
somebody like, let's go play catch or let's go play baseball. But I've always loved watching baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport to watch, baseball and pro wrestling. And so when I started the company, it's really one of the first thoughts was On Base Productions, because it's similar to On Base Percentage, and I thought I could fool a lot of people in like Google searches and stuff.
Okay.
But so and and it's going to sound really corny, but I love meeting people and clients wherever they are. Like, I'm not foolish enough to think that I can hit a home run every time, but I can help you get on first base if you want to get on first base. If you have to lay down a bunt and just move on to second base, we could, that's, and so I think baseball analogies are such a huge part of our culture as Americans.
Yeah.
Out of left field, or, they hit a home run, that it was just a no-brainer for me that it was going to be baseball themed. So, and a diehard Cubs fan. And so grew up watching the Cubs on WGN with my mom and listening to Harry Carey and Steve Stone call games. And so it's just, I never even thought about playing baseball, is what's funny. Like, it just never crossed my mind. I loved playing in the backyard.
Yeah.
But I never ever thought, oh yeah, I can go join a team and play baseball. I could have, but it just wasn't, I don't know. It was one of those weird things.
Yeah, how was the reception for WGN when you were growing up? Because I know I could pretty much just hear it. It was so fuzzy, but it didn't matter the clarity of the picture as long as I could hear the game,
right,
or listen to it on the radio. I told people all the time, that's why I'm a Cubs fan, is because I would get those games. Because you were in Southwest Michigan, if you didn't have satellite or anything like that, you really couldn't get the Tigers or those games. So
I have people give me crap about we used to go to a couple games in Detroit every year, and I'd wear my Cubs gear, just to be a jerk, and people would be like, "Where are you from?" "From Niles, Michigan." "Well, aren't you wearing Tigers stuff?" And I didn't get Tigers games. Just bottom line, like, we didn't get now with all the channels, like they have Fox Sports Detroit and the Cubs have Marquee and whatever. But yeah, so WGN came in well for us. We had Comcast cable, and so we got WGN pretty crystal clear. I can remember vividly coming home in the 8th grade. It was, kind of a rainy, overcast day. I remember coming home, and my older brother had been home. He probably stayed home from school or didn't go to school that day, whatever. And he was like, Kerry Wood's about to strike out 20 guys. And so to be able to come home in the afternoon and watch, just baseball in general, but to watch that masterful performance, it'll just always stay with me. And so it's just, the Cubs have just been a part of my life for so long that I can't imagine, a summer without baseball, which is what we almost had. And it was tragic.
Absolutely. I remember watching that game as well, coming home from school and seeing that one too. That just a lot of those games, especially that era. And I'm not old enough to see the Ryan Sandbergs and things like that, but I still had the Sammy Sosas, the Mark Grace, the Kerry Woods. All of those were awesome. I mean, and great to be able to do. And
I think Mark Grace is one of the most criminally underrated baseball players of all time. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. And hopefully he will be in the future. But so what got you into doing the things you do now with video production and camera work and all that stuff? You said you weren't in any clubs. So what got you into actually using a camera? What did your family do, home videos or what?
This is kind of it's a little long answer, and I've been drinking, so I'm gonna apologize right away. So we watched movies. My brothers and I, all we did, like, Family Video. Man, when Family Video opened up in town, every Friday night we were there, and we would rent like 6 or 8 movies, and that's what we did. We watched The Simpsons, pro wrestling, and cheap B horror movies. That was our favorite. We would just go, this looks ridiculous.
Yep.
Let's rent it. And my mom never asked. She was like, they're not out doing drugs or drinking or whatever. They're home. I know exactly what they're doing. And so what really got me into wanting to get into film and video was Sam Raimi. I remember the first time I watched Evil Dead, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And that's what I want to do. And so then it just, from there, you go down that rabbit hole of all those other horror movies and things like that. And then there was I think Alfred Hitchcock is the most efficient and effective filmmaker of all time, because he approached his filmmaking like an engineer.
Yep.
It was just so good. And I remember watching Rear Window for the first time too, and just being blown away. I got to take an Alfred Hitchcock class in college, and we got to go to the Charles Theater in Baltimore and watch Hitchcock on the big screen. And it's an amazing experience. And so that was it. It was watching movies and just knowing that's what I wanted to do. And then coupled with wanting, when I was younger, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. That was Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler of all time. And just watching Bret Hart matches, I was like, this is the coolest guy. And so I think they go hand in hand, the pageantry of it all. Yeah. So we we had a little backyard wrestling federation that we did for a few years. It was me, my brother George, my brother Phil, our friend Julian, our friend Derek, and then our buddy David, and then other people like would join in every once in a while. But that was the main crew. And so for a couple of years, we did backyard wrestling, man. And so doing the cameras and editing it, like in the way we edited back then, we edited directly from the high 8 camera into the VCR onto VHS tape. And my name, I was Stickman. I was 112 pounds soaking wet. And so I was Stickman. My twin brother was Rat Boy. Which I still think is my favorite wrestling name of all time, Rat Boy. So yeah, we did that, and it was fun. And then that just kind of made me love it more. And that's how I went to. I first went to school for graphic design.
Okay.
Because SMC, Southwestern Michigan College in Dowagiac, didn't have a video program, and so I just wanted to get credits that I could transfer somewhere.
Sure.
And so that's what I did. And then found this film, video, and theater program in Maryland in the most obscure college that I could find. And that's where I went.
Yeah, that's I will say that's crazy that you did all this stuff. And your parents, like you said, they were okay with you watching whatever movies, but your parents were okay with you doing the wrestling?
They didn't really, they knew
kind
of that what we were doing. I do remember one time I jumped off the top of the roof of a shed and put my older brother through a table. And so we messed up. And so I had to do it 3 times because the camera kept messing up.
Oh no.
And the last time I did it was when my mom pulled in the driveway to pick us up at our friend's house. And she was pissed. But so she gave us a talking to. All right, I won't do it again. But it's not like she watched any of our stuff, and so of course we did it again. But nothing really seriously happened. I got power bombed off of a trailer once, and we weren't trained. It was stupid. Don't do it. Don't backyard wrestle. If there's any kids out there, just don't do it. I got power bombed off of a trailer, and I took the bump wrong. Instead of like just going back and tucking my chin, I put my arm behind me, and I thought I dislocated my shoulder, but actually I probably did. But anyway, I wound up not having to go to the hospital. And then another time, I got power bombed over some bushes, and I didn't know there was some rocks back there.
Oh no.
But fortunately by that time, my older brother and his friend Julian had actually been trained. They trained up in Holland, Michigan. There was a wrestling school up there. I don't know if it still is, but so they got trained and they came back and they taught us some stuff. And so at that time I was smart enough to like tuck my chin and, make sure everything was good to go. Cause if I hadn't, I would have busted my head on some rocks and you wouldn't be talking to Charles today. Somebody be feeding Charles some mushed up peas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what did you learn growing up that you now are, using and maybe an advice that you're passing on to your kids? Obviously, don't backyard wrestle, but what are
Yeah,
some
don't
of the
backyard
things
wrestle.
you've learned?
So honestly, the bit of advice that I tell everybody, including my kids, I have 2 kids, and we homeschool them. My wife and I do, and so they're with us all the time, and
Mhm.
much to their chagrin, probably. But I mean, don't half-ass anything. It really, no matter how big your ass is, make sure you use your whole ass. It's it's you have to just be all in, and if you're not all in, if you don't feel all in, then don't do it.
Mm.
Just you have to stop. You can't go down this path of doing something because you think you owe somebody something, or because you made a promise, if it hurts your soul and if it's not fulfilling to you. And that's the biggest thing. And I honestly just learned that wholeheartedly over the last year. There's
Mhm.
just so many ties that I cut that were like, oh man, I guess I didn't need to be doing that at all for the last, however many years, because
Right.
my life's so much better.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I made the cut, and I'm still involved. That's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, me too. That's
Uh,
that's only because you haven't hung out with me in a long time.
that's true. We need to soon.
Yeah,
You guys always seem to be doing something, and then I'm never invited. So
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
we'll,
that's
we'll,
okay.
we'll link up. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But so tell me about this. So this past year, you did something, and then like with your family, and like you said, your kids being around, and you did something. And I'm not sure if it was your idea, your wife's idea, or what, but you did something called "What's the Big Deal?"
Yeah, yeah.
What's this all about?
What's
Because
the big deal?
yeah, what's the
It
big deal?
was so my wife and I have our biggest goal is to make it a series, right?
Sure.
Whether it's a TV show or a web series or whatever. I guess we still watch them on TV technically, so you can call them TV shows. I'm still apprehensive about saying I filmed something because we don't use film anymore, but
Right.
it's just kind of the shorthand. But so yeah, what's the big deal? Was we were like, we have time now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make like this sitcom. Let's make this episodic thing.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to educate people on things that were happening in the community. So we wanted to have an interview aspect that was educational, like,
Mm-hmm.
public accessy kind of. But then we just wanted to have sketches. We just wanted to have some sketch comedy that was kind of living in our brains for a while. And so we did, and it was awesome and it was fun. And then all of a sudden, we both started working again and we didn't have time. And
Right.
so uh, for those who don't know what's the big deal, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and search "What's the Big Deal." But there's a lots of "What's the Big Deal," so you're going to want to see the little emoji guy that's like this,
Yep.
and that's our "What's the Big Deal." You can also find it on Facebook, and we have a website, "What's the Big Deal.live." So we haven't done it in a while, but
Mm-hmm.
we had some fun stuff, man. We did is it a Popeyes yet? Because Popeyes still isn't open, and I have a feeling it's not open. As I have a feeling it's not open because we don't know what happened to Cranston and Scuzzy, who are two characters in the show.
Right.
And so one of the reasons we stopped was because of the time, but also because I wanted each episode to be better than the last episode in
Mhm.
terms of production quality, content, all of that stuff. And so then one of the last episodes we did, I was like, this sucks. Like this isn't up to, and but we were acting, producing, filming, and editing
Right.
all. And so our thought now is bringing it back, but not doing it as a full like 20-minute program, but just doing it in segments. We'll have an interview segment that we release on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel, and then we'll release the sketches
Mhm.
separately as well. So that way we can just do these one-offs and then maybe repackage them into bigger shows if necessary. And so it was a fun thing that kept us occupied and kept us creative
Yeah.
during a time when there really wasn't a lot for us to do. And I thought it turned out well. I go back, I've rewatched a couple of the episodes. especially the Halloween episode was. I was like, man, we did a really good job.
No, and what I enjoyed about it is it did have that like I wouldn't even say like cable access type of vibe to it, but it had that sort of old school vibe because I mean I wasn't around, but back in the 60s and 70s there would be shows that would have all of the stuff. It would be there would be information, there would be a commercial to tell you about this. There'd be public service announcements. So doing that, and then I still think that in our communities in Southwest Michigan, especially at Niles, is that there's still a need for something like that of getting the word out about stuff, but also people having fun. And the fact that you guys were doing everything pretty much as a family band, I guess you'd almost call it.
Oh, and it's like, our kids acted in it, right? Like our kids were in it. And that was the other thing too. When our kids were like, I don't want to do this. Like you're making it a chore. And I was like, oh, and so I had to take a step back and be like, damn, like, okay. Yeah. Cause it's not, that's not what it's about. It was about having fun. Cause I mean, I think Creepy Hank is a character that could endure forever, but now it's crazy. Back, that was, I say back then, it was what, in July or August of last year. He's already grown like 5 inches and he has a mustache now and he's like only 13 and he's 5'10" and he's already 3 inches taller than me. And it's like, what the hell, man? I didn't sign up for this. That's the way it goes.
And that's the thing too. And you probably realized this in the last year, how life has changed and you look at different things. But as far as, live streaming and putting stuff out there and getting things out there, I'm sure everybody was calling you because you had expertise and the abilities to do so with things, and people that could help you with that stuff. Are you finding more and more, because I feel like you're doing something like 3 or 4 things a day with all the stuff, but as far as live streaming, I'm seeing more and more of that where they're like, sports, high school sports, or, churches and other organizations that have reached out to you and said, we need to get this out there. And I feel like you're the person that can help us. Right.
Yeah. So the weirdest thing that happened to me last year was I cut ties with my biggest client.
Okay.
And it was a mutual parting. We both knew. It was my biggest source of income.
Sure.
And then like nothing was happening for a while last year, and we both realized that it was time that we moved on. And so they went with somebody else, and I had more time to do other things. And because of that parting and freeing up that time, I've already had my best year in business already to date. And so it's because I have time to live stream Brandywine's sporting events and help with Niles' high school graduation. And Palmer Funeral Homes in South Bend calls me when they need funerals, like live. They live stream funerals now. And so it's the ability to have the time and not be scared to say, hey, I need this regular income coming in, but it's not helping my business expand. And so I haven't been able to hire any full-time employees, but I've been able to expand the number of contract employees that I have that I can pay $15 or $20 an hour to go and run this camera for me. And it's experience that they get. It helps my brand, and it just helps grow this company into something that I want it to be. And just today, I finished up a project I'm working on with Fernwood Botanical Garden. They have their garden party. And they're going to do a virtual event. And so we've done all of their stuff for their virtual event, all the video components. I finished up a project for St. Mary's Schools in Niles here. I have, you can't see it, but over on this side of my studio, there's boxes and boxes and boxes of air filters because one of my clients sells air purifiers and air filters. And they moved their model to selling so much stuff on Home Shopping Network and QVC that they just need product photos all of the time. And so I'm the guy they call. And so there's all of this stuff that keeps coming in. There's an Elkhart, there's a transportation company that due to the pandemic, they're located in Elkhart, Pennsylvania, I think Texas, and one other state. And they couldn't have people come in and train people. And so I'm creating a training video that they can share with people. And we're creating an online curriculum that these people can watch the videos, take a quiz after you watch the video. And then, okay, you checked all those boxes and you know, now you can do this. And so it's all this stuff that for me, if I'm not learning something new, then my business is dying. And so I always am looking for, like, what's the next thing that I can do? And 360 photos and videos, right? Like going into businesses and offering virtual tours of a business.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I tell people, and from my experience, the barrier to entry is knowing, what am I going to get myself into? Where am I going? And so if you can show people what to expect when they show up, then they're more likely to show up, which is why I think every municipality should, they do now, but before, like, everybody should have city council meetings or township council meetings online, so people know this is what I can expect. And so that way I don't feel intimidated when I show up. And so video and photo just do that in a way that, you know, lets people feel at ease whenever they go somewhere. So it's been a whirlwind, and it's been fun, but it's been stressful. And finally, I've scheduled 2 weeks off in September. And honestly, I haven't taken a solo vacation by myself, without my family, without anything. I haven't taken a solo vacation since probably 2012. And so that's going to be fun when I do that finally. But yeah, but now I have to give myself in that mindset because more business is coming in. And so it's like, how do I stop working? And so, yeah, but it's been great. And it's been wild to lean into the fact that out of all of this, what's happened, I've been resilient enough to, come out the better for it. I mean, we were transferring VHS tapes for people, 8mm films for people. We were doing whatever we needed to do to bring in the money. And so it worked, and here we are.
Absolutely. And then you also did the giving back to the community and looking at all that stuff. You did the Christmas lights.
Oh yeah, the tour of the Christmas lights. I mean, yep. Yeah. And so that's what I do so much for free that I forget sometimes. and it's not like I really don't mind helping people. And so so Carol's Hope is an organization in St. Joe Benton Harbor, and it's addiction recovery treatment center. You don't come there to get treatment. You come there as the first stop. You go to Carol's Hope, and they help you get connected. They help you find insurance. They help you find like a phone if you need a phone. They help you with all this stuff. And they first reached out to me because I had done some work for the YMCA, and one of the employees at the Y is on the board of Carol's Hope. And that's an organization that I'm willing to donate my time to. Yeah. Same with the YMCA. Same with just the city of Niles, the Michigan Gateway Community Foundation, Fernwood, all of these organizations. Niles High School, I just did I worked on a project with them. We interviewed 18 students of color about their experience as a citizen of Niles and a student in the Niles Community Schools. And it was just a very powerful project that one of the faculty reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you help us with this?" And I said, "I'd absolutely love to help you with that." And so we were able to do that and get these kids' voices heard. And so that's why it's important to listen to people and help them tell their story. I never I'm not a cheerleader for myself at all. People always say, hey, put your logo at the end, do this. I'm like, I'll put a little line at the bottom that says produced by On Base Productions for like 2 seconds, because it's about the story that I'm helping to tell. It's not about the fact that I shot it and edited it. It's about if people find that story engaging, that's all the reward that I need. Because then you're going to tell the next person that I did such a good job, and they're going to tell the next person that I did such a good job. And so I don't like to be out front and like rah and all that. But I love working with individuals and organizations and helping them tell their story. Do I do everything for free? Absolutely not, because I can't. It's not sustainable. But I'm willing to work with people inside of their circumstances and their budget. It's just not. I grew up on welfare. I know what it's like to not have money. I ate hot dogs and government cheese for years, and so I know what that's like. And so I think that's why I'm able to help and connect with people and put them at ease and be like, listen, it's not a big deal. Let's just figure out what we can do to help. So yeah.
No, I think that's great. And like you said, the work that you do and the quality of work that you do, even if you do something as a free thing for an organization, a nonprofit or something like that, somebody that sees that is going to say, oh, well, I know a friend that has a business that could use that help, or this and that. That your quality of work is sometimes the best marketing of seeing that,
right.
And then
Absolutely.
getting it out there to other people and seeing that is really awesome. Well, I've had a great time talking with you, Charles. I do want to ask you a couple questions that I always like to ask everybody.
Sure.
First, what is something that somebody may not know about you?
Oh, geez. You don't know. Man.
I mean, are there other people that know you're a ordained minister? And
I don't know if probably not. I don't know. I think one thing about me is I don't know. I love Patsy Cline. I think Patsy Cline's one of the best singers of all time. I could probably give you a better answer if I don't know. Let's just look at it. I'm an ordained minister and I love Patsy Cline. Oh, I used to wear a dress a lot when I was in high school. I don't know. People probably don't know that a lot about me.
For what?
Just for fun, because I had great legs. I still have great legs. Honestly, right. I'm not ashamed of my legs. My twin brother and I, for the winter formal, our senior year at Niles High School, I still wish I had this dress. I wore a black dress. It was a great dress. I looked fantastic. And he, wore a suit, and we were actually voted winter formal king and queen, but they wouldn't give it to us. So yeah, there you go. That's the tidbit of Charles Nelson that you don't know. I look great in a dress, but I don't want to upstage anybody, so I just don't wear them all the time.
Did you get best legs? Did they have that?
They should have. I had these black tights on. My calves were popping. It was great.
Well, all right. What about your autobiography? If you were to title an autobiography, what would you call it?
Oh, what's the big deal? Probably. Like, I'm just such a laid back guy, man. Yeah. Charles Nelson, don't worry. I don't know. Like,
I like what's the big deal. I like that.
Yeah,
one, for sure.
I'm just so easy to, and that's what I tell my clients. I'm the easiest person you'll ever work with to your detriment. Because there might be something like, oh, we didn't get this. I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go do it. And it's just,
no big deal.
Yeah. So,
well, Charles, it was always good. It's always good to talk to you, and we'll have to hang out soon. So, like, I don't want the invitation to be in the mail. You've got my phone number.
Well, I'll make sure Ryan's not in charge of the invites.
There you go. Yeah, he's the one that I think he's the one that said we needed to get together, and then that was 3 months ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We'll make it happen. But thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Wait. The title of my autobiography, Charles Nelson, Ryan Cheever Sucks. I told him I had to get that in.
You had to get that in.
I had to. Yep.
Oh my gosh.